Today we are going to talk about something that really fascinated us over the last several thousand years, and every day we have to deal with it, the sleep. My name is Shayan Gharagozlou. I'm a sleep doctor from sunny California, and today I would love to talk to you about how sleep changes over different stages of life, from an infant to a baby to a kid, teenager, adult. We will learn about different stages of sleep over different stages of life and how they affect your health and well-being and how they changes over time to be appropriate for that stage of life. We will discuss the needs for sleep and the length of sleep that is healthy among different stages of life cycle, and we will also talk about how naps are important at different life cycle and what we need to do to be sure that we have slept enough and in the right way across our life cycle as a baby, as a kid, as your infant, or as your teenager, as a professional adult, and in our later years. But wait, before you hit that snooze button or move on, today we are going to learn why the babies cannot wake up and have to snooze so much, while our teenagers are practically night owls and while adults have to get some Z in the middle of juggling our very, very demanding lives. So sometimes people come to me and say, how can I sleep less? Sometimes people come to me and say, I just want to shut down my brain. Sometimes people say, why do I have to sleep? I have so many things to do and it's waste of life. Over the last few years, it's becoming more popular and it's becoming more a living room knowledge that sleep is not just the brain shut off or just an extra thing that is not necessary and you have to do it because you get tired and you would like to find a way to avoid it. Sleep has extremely important function in our brain activity, and our brain is our control system for the body. So when you get sleep, your control center, your command center is able to control the body better. We now know that lack of sleep can cause depression, can cause anxiety, even a poor quality of sleep can cause those problems. Animals who are deprived from sleep on severe basis, they get all sick, they get infections, and a lot of them will die. Sleep has a big role in control of function of your brain, of your central nervous system, of your accuracy, of your vigilance, of ability to do complex tasks, to have a good, sharp cognition. Sleep helps you with processing of information and, more importantly, processing and categorization of memory and your emotions. Dreams have a very important role in the life of a person. It's as Freud said, it's a royal road to unconscious. But that's out of the scope of today. But the sleep itself, not thinking about the dream, has all these very, very vital and important roles in control of the brain, control of your mental status, and even control of physiological status. The function of heart, the function of metabolism, the function of gastrointestinal system have all things to do with a good night's sleep. So I can't emphasize more how important the sleep is, and if you really want to be able to function well, you have to take your sleep seriously. I remember a lady who was a federal police, and she had back-to-back shifts in a way that she couldn't get enough sleep. She made wrong arrest, if I remember correctly. Don't hold me liable on that. She had made reporting errors. It became to the level that her higher-ups have asked her to go and get help. And just with changes of her shift structures and changes in the amount of time that she has between two shifts, her performance became a lot better. Obviously, something like that can cause anxiety, can cause even further lack of performance, and that anxiety can get you not to fall asleep, and the cycle goes on. So please, if you have problem with the sleeping, with the structure of a sleep, with the shift work issues, you need to see a sleep doctor. Here I like to remind the listener, the viewers, that sleep is a state of being that inside of the mind, to a good extent, get disconnected from our peripheral life. We still get internal stimuli, but most of them don't get to the level of cortex and doesn't need cortical processing. Something happened at the level of the encephalon and thalamus that the signals that come from the periphery don't quite pass into the cortex. And there is a very precise moment that you can say, okay, this person is awake, this person is asleep from this moment, and that we can see in the changes of electrical activities of brain. These electrical activities tell us if this person is in a shallow sleep or awake or a deep sleep or in a state that is called REM sleep, that is basically the brain wakes up again within itself, and we can experience visuals, we can experience emotions, and we can even remember them sometimes to a certain amount that we call it dreaming. So these different stages, each of them have different functions. For instance, in a deep sleep, the brain becomes really, really synchronized in electrical activity, and that gives our neural system an opportunity to repair itself, to rest, and to become ready for the next day activities and input processing from the peripheral world. Shallower sleep is sedated state, and in that stage the brain is having certain electrical activity that will ensure continuity of the sleep and prepares the brain to get into deeper sleep. In around every 90 minutes we finish a cycle of sleep. That part of it is REM sleep and part of it is non-REM sleep, either shallow or deep sleep. And in REM sleep, as I said, the electrical activity changes completely. It resembles a wake electrical activity, even though our muscles become paralyzed and our brain starts perceiving internal stimuli and things from within itself. It deals with unsolved emotions or recent memories, and also wishes and wants of the person, us. In parentheses, all mammals have dreams, all mammals sleep. And of course, as we go lower in the evolution, we can see sleep in lower animals. So it's really the animal that have cycles, and these cycles, half of it is asleep, half of it is wake, and then in higher animals we see REM sleep. In a baby, we don't have a very good structure of REM and non-REM sleep, but we have indications, and we can call some of it REM and some of it non-REM sleep. The babies are very sleepy. They sleep more than 50% of 24 hours, but these sleeps are interrupted, and they wake up, they get their physiological needs, and then they get tired pretty fast and they go back to sleep. As we become toddler, this need is much less, but still the toddler is pretty sleepy. They need multiple naps a day. And if they don't get that nap, they become cranky, every mother knows. And that's the equivalent of not getting the sleep, and the sleep is not doing its magic to take care of the emotions and repair and maintenance of the central nervous system, so it does function well. As we pass during this time, eventually we become 50-50, so we need around 12 hours of sleep. And when we get to older ages in elementary school years, our sleep needs become less and less. So we need around 10 hours of sleep or 11 hours of sleep. The viewer has to pay attention that these numbers are averages and they all have a bell-shaped curve, and some people need less, some people need more. And it's not 2 minutes less or 2 minutes more, is 1 hour less or 1 hour more. So if you're a kid, if you're a toddler, if you're teenager, does not follow exactly these numbers, that might be normal physiological, but if there is a problem, you always ask the doctor to see what they say. As we get into teenagers, two things happen to sleep. One, the cycles of the body of the teenager changes in a way that they get sleepy around 12:30 in the night, and they want to sleep more. So it's very hard to wake up a teenager who doesn't have a class or a reason before 9-10 o'clock in the morning, and sometime later. Another issue that happens is that again their need for sleep become less. So that's when we get to around 7 to 9 hours of sleep that everybody knows, and the middle of that is 8 hours. So people say, oh, 8 hours. But you have to look at the person and see if this much of a sleep is enough for them. If you're tired, maybe the first step that you can take is to sleep a little bit more and see if that takes care of the situation. Or if you're sleepy especially, you probably need to sleep more. The best treatment for sleepiness is sleep. For an adult, the sleep cycles are the same and the sleep need is the same. So we again say 7 to 9 hours. If you need 9.5 hours to be refreshed and good, maybe that's your body needs it. Somebody needs 6 hours, 45 minutes of sleep. Maybe that's what they need. But most people need around 8 hours of sleep without having a sleep insufficiency. One test that you can think and decide if you have a sleep deficiency with the amount of sleep you get is to see if on the weekends you need to bank your sleep and you need more sleep on the weekend to catch up with your sleep debt. But the data shows that you really don't catch up, and that sleep debt is bad for you, and you should take that time that you sleep more on the weekends and put it in 5 parts and increase to your weekday sleep by that. For example, if you sleep 2 more hours on the weekends total, 2 hours is 120 minutes, so you divide it by 5, and on the weekdays you get that much more sleep. And that probably is much more healthy for your brain than getting sleep insufficient over the weekdays and then try to catch up on the weekend. If as an adult you have a lot of things to do and you keep compromising on your sleep, don't think it's without consequence. It definitely affects your body. One of the most important things that happen is regulation of your appetite and obesity and weight. So people who are sleep deprived, we know they have difficulty losing weight and also they gain weight. As we get older, the data shows that people sleep around an hour less, or some people a little bit more than an hour less. And we don't quite know for sure if the need for less sleep is physiological or if it hurts the person. We know people who can't sleep get worse dementia, and the research is out, a lot of research is coming out, and the consensus is pending on that. So if you feel that you're not getting enough sleep as a person who is in their golden years, discuss it with the doctor and see what the sleep specialist has to say, and when they put everything together, what kind of recommendations they have for you as a person. The REM sleep over most of the life is a matter of certainty. We don't lose too much REM sleep as we get older. And after age 4 or 5, we get around 20% of REM sleep till we get in our senior years. However, we lose a lot of deep sleep. And researchers are trying to see if it's healthy for us or not, but that's what happens to most brains. We also get more shallow sleep, and the time in bed that we are not asleep increases in old age. So more people after their 60s, they come and complain about their poor sleep, and in 70s and 80s, it's a pretty common thing to experience insomnia. The take-home notes from today is that we have to respect the sleep of a child. We have to make sure they have opportunity to sleep, and we provide them with multiple naps at the beginning, at infancy. As they get to their toddler years, they probably need 2 naps, and in preschool, they at least need 1 nap a day. Their sleep needs are much more than, let's say, an adult. So it starts from 14, 16 hours of sleep at the beginning, and as their age, it comes down to around 10 hours. When we get to teenage years, around 8, 9 hours, we need the sleep. The teenagers don't get sleepy soon. So the reason that they don't want to go to bed that early is not that they want to stay in their social media, even though it's a pretty damaging problem. But they're also not sleepy at all. And the reason that they can't wake up in the morning is not that they are lazy or don't want to do anything, is that that's the time that the brain wants to sleep. And research after research shows this. In an adult, we have to remember to try as much as possible not to shift the sleep time. Try to avoid shift work, even though I know 20 to 40% of the jobs are designed to be not in 9 to 5 shifts. But try to not shift your sleep. Don't get a shift work. If you have a shift work, try to stay on the same cycle every day, even on the non-shift days. And don't compromise your sleep for getting ahead, because you're not going to get ahead, and you just increase your long-term health risk like cancer and obesity by compromising on your sleep to try to make more income or do more jobs or get more classes and things like that. As an elderly, we have to expect that we're going to have less sleep and more shallow sleep. And because other sleep issues also become more frequent at these ages, it becomes necessary to get a sleep consultation. With the last videos, I was asked that if somebody wants to have a sleep consultation, what do they do? Well, simply go to our website, it's healthysleepcare.com, and you can make an appointment from there with me. These talks are basically for educational purposes, and I try to stay to the science of it and make it more usable for a broad audience across the world. Thank you so much for staying with me up to now. We will talk about herbals and over-the-counter medicines that can help with the sleep on the next talk.